It is once again time to take a look at a governmental aircraft from Herpa Wings, and while they are pretty much always succeeding with their military aircraft, governmental aircraft are more hit and miss. So how have they done this time? We will find out thanks to the still ongoing sale of the FMB shop. I will leave a link to them in the video description below. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a South Korea Government Boeing 747-8 BBJ. At the front of the box we have a cutout, so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of that we have two crests. On the back side of the box we then have yet another cutout. Unfortunately, the dreaded Herpa Wings standard box design, it is even worse with larger aircraft types because the box gets even more unstable. So the only positive thing or worth mentioning thing here is simply the fact that it is a limited edition. And here she is, the Boeing 747-8 BBJ, so the Boeing business jet variant of that aircraft. And it is, of course, in the livery of the Korean government. Now, as I said in the intro, Herpa is quite hit and miss with their governmental aircraft. We have seen some really quite nice Scale 500 governmental aircraft from Herpa Wings, but we've also seen some where they have been completely void of any detailing. So how have they done this time? Well, we will find out by taking a closer look at it. Starting off with the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer have the South Korean flag, as this is of course the governmental aircraft of South Korea. That's important. Now, on the fuselage, we unfortunately don't really have any details. We can actually see some half missing cabin door here. And then we have the blue cheat line. But since we don't really have any other details here, we can actually go back to the stabilizer where we find the registration code of the aircraft. Towards the very tail of the aircraft, we do then have a little bit of detailing in form of the APU exhaust. And then we can also take a look at the top of the fuselage, where we do have a set dome. Now, Herpa is also here kind of inconsistent with the sizes of their set domes and the placements. But I think in this case, they have actually nailed it pretty closely to what we see on the aircraft in real life. Now, from the set dome we can continue onwards following the blue cheat line to the front of the aircraft, where it is then switched over to a red cheat line. But apart from that, we of course then also find, well, the writing of Korea in English and in Korean, and again the South Korean flag. Apart from that, we then also have again the crest that we also saw on the box. This is placed here just above the cabin door. Now, I'm actually not entirely sure which crest that is. It could be of the South Korean Air Force. I think more likely is of the office of the president in Korea. But if you know specifically what crest that is, then please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And apart from that, of course, so that Herpa can say that they haven't completely forgotten to add any additional details, we do have two small dots, likely some static ports, but in my opinion far too few details on an aircraft of that size. Now, when it comes to the cockpit section, we do of course have the cockpit windows with the silver edges around that and the window wipers. And when we look above those windows, we then also find the emergency hatch for the cockpit, but again also here quite void of any other detailing. So what about the engine nacelles? Now, they have been kept in all white, just as most of the fuselage, but we do find the silver leading edge printed on, as well as some safety markings, which of course is quite beneficial to the engines when they are kept in all white. Apart from that, we have really nicely physical detailing in form of the chevron nozzles. This is always a highlight for me with Herpa in the case of the 747-8. And then, of course, also when we look into the engines from the front, we can very nicely see the engine fan blades. Now, if we then take a look at the fuselage just above the wings, we have the emergency exit printed on. That leads us straight to the wings, which we should also take a closer look at, starting off with the top side, where we have the different flap slats and spoilers carved out quite nicely, but we don't really have any other markings, and I feel like, I mean, yeah, surely there must be something here that Herpa could have added to just, you know, make them pop a little bit more. The underside of the wings has a nice physical detailing, but also here no printed details to be mentioned. Then we have the landing gear. That is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their 747-8 aircraft. With the 8 variant, the landing gear is made out of plastic, with the 400 out of metal, but in any case we won't get any printed details here, which of course is quite disappointing. On the belly of the aircraft we then find a hole in the fuselage for a stand that is not included with this aircraft model, making it really rather pointless, but at least it doesn't destroy any printed details, because there are none here. Well, the theme continues, kind of. I mean, we do have then the cargo doors printed on, luckily, although again, the most basic version of those cargo doors, both in the back of the aircraft and of course also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 747-8 BBJ in the livery of the Korean government from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? I mean, to be honest, I kind of understand why this aircraft model has ended up in the sale. I mean, obviously, models ending up in the sale, well, they go there because they didn't sell out. And this model, it just doesn't offer enough for the retail price of Herpa Wings. And I mean, it's not like the print is kind of good. I mean, apart maybe from the slight issue in one of the cabin doors, but other than that, it's a good print quality we see here. It's just when you have such a huge aircraft with the 747-8 and then such a wide livery, it just is more noticeable when you skip out on a lot of details. And it's really not that much. Maybe a few markings on the wings, a little marking on the landing gear, just, you know, maybe some peto tubes around the cockpit section. Just the bare minimum, but we don't really even get that. It at least doesn't feel like it. It's not because the model is of a lesser standard than we would see with any other 747-8s from Herpa Wings at the moment. But I mean, okay, I don't know this, but I feel like it's very hard to believe that Herpa would have to pay a license to the Korean government to create this aircraft model. And if they had to, I doubt it would be as much as perhaps for some other, passenger carrying airliners. So I really feel like there should be some margin for Herpa Wings to add more to such an aircraft than what they did. It's just not enough for me. And to be honest, I kind of feel like Herpa is not really doing themselves a favor here by choosing to make so many of these 747-8 BBJs, because there are quite a few governmental aircraft out there, but they just choose the largest aircraft type they could find. And I mean, they have the molds of the A319, of the A320 or 737s, and there are plenty of governments flying around with these type of aircraft. And let's just pretend that the Korean government would be flying around in an A320 or 737 with this livery. Sure, it would also still be a quite wide livery, but it would just be that much less noticeable when they don't add more details than what they do here. I know, again, it's not that I'm saying that they shouldn't make this Korean 747-8, but when you then have this large aircraft, you really do need to put more into it. Just how about some landing lights, for example? Just a few small dots here and there. I've talked with Herpa about it, and I know they are very hesitant, but I just don't buy it. It's not good enough to not put a little bit more effort into your products, especially at the current price range. So yeah, I think it is quite cool that Herpa made a South Korean government aircraft. I just don't think they did themselves many favors with, well, the efforts that they put into it. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. And with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then feel free to leave a like. If you're new around here, why not hit subscribe? And with that, hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.